EdFin was founded in 2019, and that's because we focused on education because we felt that there was a gap in terms of access to quality education. And especially when you look at low-income households, they were not able to afford the high-end quality education that will bring them out of poverty. Government does provide free education, but we felt that there were not enough classroom spaces for given the population growth that we have in Nigeria. In Lagos alone, with 23 million people, 50% of them are of school age. Nigeria as a whole is a youthful population, and we expect those numbers to continue to grow. So like the World Bank estimates that we will have 450 million Nigerians by 2030, which is just 7 years away, and meaning that the rate of children is going to increase. So how do we ensure that majority are able to attend school and have the proper education that is required? The other thing was that Nigeria has a high poverty rate. I think in recent reports, it's about 66, 2/3 of Nigerians who live on less than $1.9 a day. So that tells you that schooling will be a struggle for most families in Nigeria. And we say the same proportion of children are being born, so 70% of those new children will be given birth to in low-income households. So how do they afford schooling? And government alone cannot cope with education, given the rate of population growth. So yes, they have a primary responsibility to ensure that basic education is done, but we've seen that it's a struggle to finance education the way it is. So we recognize that gap, and we felt that if we were providing education finance to schools, affordable schools, they were able to build more classrooms to meet that demand. And they will still be able to do it in an affordable manner so that more low-income households can go to school. So that's how we started EdFin. And we partnered with Grey Matters Capital, which is a impact investment venture capital firm based in the US that gave us funding together with raising locally. And we were able to set up EdFin in 2019. So now we've started continue to focus on education sector. Some of the issues that we faced throughout that period, of course, was COVID. COVID came and really affected the education sector. So it in fact made the problem we were trying to solve become worse. So that means that we need to continue to fund education. But some of the things that we learned was that maybe education needs longer term, more affordable financing than a commercial microfinance funding. So we are seeking partnerships to be able to bring that down. We had some initiatives with government. For instance, the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund did give a dedicated education fund for COVID. That was a single-digit loan so that we can lend to schools. So we partnered with Lagos State to be able to implement that. But some of the things we too have had to do is to even diversify and not only look at schools, affordable schools, but even people who want to study abroad. You want to go abroad for your school, because nothing says you should not have your education anywhere. It's not only in Nigeria, you could have it abroad. And so we provide funding for people who want to study abroad, pay school fees and all of that. We partnered with some firms. We provide loans directly. But we also have diversified, because we also feel if parents can't afford to pay the school fees, then they still won't send the children to school. So we are looking at SMEs, small businesses that the parents own, so that we can provide funding there. So those are some of the changes we've done in recent times. But that education is our real core and our mission. I would say that in Nigeria, a lot, especially in low-income households, people hold education very high. That has traditionally been so. I know that the economic hardship has reduced some of that, because that's why we have a lot of children out of school now in Nigeria. I think we have the highest number of children out of school in Nigeria, because parents may be weighing the economic hardship either of sending the child to school or helping them with their business. So that's really affected, especially at entry and primary school, secondary school levels. So that has affected willingness. I will say willingness to attend school. But I think that most parents do recognize that having access to education helps their children come out of poverty, because you may get better jobs, even if you are not working for somebody. When you want to set up your own business, you are able to take that business to the next level that maybe education would not help you. So we've seen, for instance, where a woman may be selling fish, and then her child goes to school and he takes over that fish business, and before you know it, he's importing fish, he's supplying maybe the whole of Nigeria. He takes it up to the next level because of access to education. So those are the kinds of things that we try to let parents see. And education, I think Nigeria is very, very passionate. We have passionate educationists that actually spread that news. So, and I'm hoping that once we start to see economic growth, more and more parents will actually send their children back to school. And then the loans, such as what we are providing, will make it easier for them. So, for instance, when you want to pay school fees, you're paying for a whole term. So, but if you take a loan, it means that you can pay for that term, but you are repaying the money over a monthly period. So maybe that's how you earn your money. So you don't have to start looking at how am I going to get money for 4 months upfront, but you get your loan and then you pay monthly. Some other ideas we had is even daily. So depending on how the parents enter that, you can repay your loan on a daily basis so that the burden is not hard. So, and those are some of the things that we've done, especially for low income. Now, for those who, for instance, now you want to further your education, you want to go for your masters, abroad and all of that, and you don't have the funding, we partnered with actually international schools and school loans who provide loans to international students, just like you get a student loan in the US or UK. So you don't have to repay until after you graduate. So that eases your burden. You're only repaying the interest. We did a calculation that shows that if you work on Saturdays, even at minimum wage, you will be able to pay off that interest while you're in school. So, and then when you graduate, when you then get a job, you are able to repay the loan. So those are the kinds of things that we feel would help remove that burden in terms of the cost of education. Savings, you can open a savings account with us. We also add on insurance. So there's life insurance, you can also, we have our education products. So you want a tuition loan because you're studying, but you have admission. You want proof of funds. We are able to provide that for you so that you're able to get visas, you're able to then go and study abroad. You own a school and you want a loan, then you come to us. You are someone who supplies a school, so maybe you supply chairs, any equipment that schools use, we could provide a loan to you. Or you work in the education sector, so like you're a teacher or whatever, and you need a loan, then we're able to provide that to you. So, and then now, as I said, we've added SME, we call it EdFin MD, so for parents who run businesses and so on, we are able to provide them with loans. So our core focus, I would say, is more of loans. Then we do have our savings products and payment channels. That's it. You should have been running the school for at least 2 years. So that enables us to have a track record. So we then have relationship officers who will come to your school and then do an evaluation. Check how many students do you have in the school, what is your school fees. All of that is done to determine the capacity of the school to repay a loan. So based on that, we are able to say, okay, you can afford a loan of say 5 million or what have you. And then this is how we structure it. So we typically structure it as they repay on a termly basis, because we recognize that schools get their school fees on a termly basis. And we also have a list of documents they're supposed to provide that enables us to determine their capacity to repay as well as willingness. So like you need one guarantor, you need to give us your checkbook, collateral, depending on how risky you evaluate the school, or maybe let's say you're building additional classrooms, that would then be collateral for the school. So those kind of things is what we do, and we've since the beginning we've served more than 500 schools so far. During COVID, that really slowed down. In fact, I would say during the year COVID 2020, we hardly gave any loans out because schools were shut down. But we expect to start to see the number growing now that COVID is over and schools are back. During COVID, we actually did a lot. It will help schools to start off what we'll call an online school. First of all, we started off with doing webinars, Zoom, and all of that. But we saw that the penetration at the low income household was very low. Some of them would not have the appropriate phones or devices to be able to connect. So we were able to actually teach schools how to use WhatsApp to actually do lessons, to actually do training and all of that. So those are some of the things we did. But we partnered with the other firms that were in education technology. So we don't do the technology ourselves. We just partner with organizations so that they link with the school and the edtech company. And so if the edtech company, for instance, needs funding to be able to serve those customers or to develop the products, we provide them with loans as well. And then that matching is done with the school. So we did interactive boards, so that the schools have devices where it brings what they're teaching to life. I would sort of argue that most Nigerians may be visual in their learning. So it brings it, like now if you are doing biology and you're talking about the human body, you actually see everything. You see the skeleton, you see the in life pictures. That's what that interactive was. So we partnered with that, and then we're able to provide loans to some schools to be able to buy that. We also partnered with Chronicles that does smart devices. So on that device, we first started off with past questions, jam questions, all of that, so that people can pass those entrance exams into secondary school or university. And so we were able to supply. We funded him. We've done two now. The next one we funded over 8,000 devices. That they are able to do, and we connected them with Lagos State, where now public schools too are ordering those devices so that they're able to use those devices to teach. You don't have to buy a truckload of books, but it's all in the device. Everything that you need to learn, is visual, is audio, is interactive, and we feel that will help learning improve. So especially schools that want to either set up a technology lab, we want to have a digital school. So those are some of the things that we are currently exploring. In fact, we also have a partnership who has approached us to set up home lessons. So with like a study center, students can come in there, they have the devices, and it's also a means to create jobs. So we're still in discussions where we will provide loans to who want to set up those private training in your local community. So you set up the tent, you have the device and everything to provide the training. So those are some of the things that we are currently exploring. We do feel there's significant opportunity for technology. Yeah. Regulation hasn't been so bad, I would say. I've seen that the CBN has come up with quite a number of innovations. For instance, I'll first start with the KYC. So one of the things before was that your house has to be verified. You must have utility bill with your name and address. The requirements for account opening was very, very tedious for low-income households who didn't have access to quite a number of the documents that were asked for. So CBN came up with what we call a 3-tier KYC and limiting the transactions you can do so that it doesn't really make it too difficult for people to open bank accounts. So that's something. Then even as we wanted to do education finance, we were the very first ones. CBN approved us to focus on the sector. and they've been supporting us. In fact, they also set up what we call the intervention fund. So it's a low-cost loan that they provide to microfinance institutions for development. So we're able to access that as well. And the main challenge to me would be more around the ease of doing business. Power is still a problem, electricity, broadband, multiple taxes that you have to pay, those kind of things is what I would say are the issues as opposed to proper banking being an issue in itself. For vocational, it's something that we're very passionate about, because when we look at the number of people who are passing through primary to secondary and wanting to go to tertiary, we see that the number of spaces by the time you get tertiary, as you move up anyway, the number of spaces drop. So what are all those people who go to primary school? Where would they go? So a lot of it may be vocational. Not everybody has to chase a degree before you do well. Some people chase degrees and come out and then do, in quotes, what I would call blue-collar jobs or vocational jobs. So we explored the vocational sector, but what we found was that government only has, I think it's 23 vocational centers. It's totally inadequate to meet the required number of population. Then we did see that there are some private sector vocational centers, but unfortunately they are more expensive to attend than if you attended a university. So, and that's because university is subsidized, not private university, but government university. So everybody will continue to rush JAMB, because you may say to yourself, why would I pay 350,000 naira to learn to be a carpenter when I can go to school for maybe 40,000? Do you get? So you go to university for a BSc, at that rate. So those are some of the issues. So we did try to partner with those private vocational schools, but really what they need is a grant or a scholarship for you to attend a vocational school, because you couldn't justify why you would give somebody a loan of say 350 to go and learn carpentry, when to go and learn medicine may be costing you 50,000 in a government university. You get the point. So those were some of the issues, but it's something that we feel that we need to address as a society. I see people wanting to pay those kind of amount. For instance, if you go for fashion, so there are a lot of fashion schools. You can go to fashion school and we can provide you with a tuition loan for that. So people are willing to pay because they see that the business can make the money. But when we did further studies, so even if you spend 350k for instance to learn carpentry, when you come out, you are not getting a job that can even afford to repay the loan. You understand? So I think why fashion works is because you can easily set up your shop, sell, and make that money so you can pay off your loan. For other areas, like people who do plumbing, tiling, construction, they are not making adequate returns to be able to repay the loan. So it's something that we are still very, very interested in, but we haven't been able to see that balance between the affordability for repaying your loan and the income you will earn after you graduate. So those two things are important. Yes. First of all, I think they need to create more vocational schools. So that's one that they can step into. But the other issue and the main issue is actually the income levels. So when you go abroad, somebody who does carpentry, plumbing, my goodness, they charge you per hour. They're even sometimes more expensive than your next professional. If you are going to hire an accountant and you hire a plumber, you may find that the differential in the per hour charge is minimal. But here, there's such a huge gap. So I think at that level, they're not earning enough. Now, how does government increase pay in that area? I don't know. Maybe economic growth, if the economy starts to boom, there's affordability, people are earning increased income. They may then be able to pay more for this kind of services, and then it starts to make sense. So those are the kinds of things I would say.